Last night was one big fuel fest for the Juan Soto stuff. That's all we wanted to see how Petey did, and we wanted to see Soto.
Yeah, that's right. The only thing that mattered for Mets fans was that Starling Marte was there chucking it up with him.
That's right.
It's our guy.
Future teammate.
Hey, come to the Mets. Come to the Mets. You know you love Citi Field. Citi Field where you have a 1,200 OPS and you just rake there. And you'd love New York City. You've already said that. You know, it's interesting because Juan Soto talked about the fact that his contract negotiation or the failed contract negotiation became public. And I think we have the sound on it, but it's not even worth listening to. He just says, I wish it wouldn't have happened. But you know what? In some ways, BT, it had to happen. It had to happen because the Washington Nationals are not going to pay Juan Soto what he wants to be paid. The deal that they offered him, $440 million over 15 years, averages out about $29.3 or so million a year, which is so far below some of the big names that are making money in baseball right now. Seager's making $33 million, Lindor $34. We've talked about this a lot. Arenado, who's worth it. Arenado's making $35. Mike Trout obviously is way up there at $37 million. So to hit 29 on AAV, and again, this is what these guys care about right now. Aaron Judge is the same situation at the beginning of the season. It was the AAV. You get an AAV over $30 million. Don't talk to me about that. Talk to me at the end of the year. Juan Soto is saying the same thing. But I think that this leaked because there's an urgency that need to happen. There are teams like the Dodgers or the Padres or even the Red Sox could make a move at this, even though they've been faltering a little bit. But most importantly, the Mets, right? The Mets are a team that need Juan Soto to win a World Series. I know you talked about the Yankees yesterday. The Yankees are probably good without Juan Soto, and they could probably win a World Series.
Come on now.
A World Series. I'm just saying, it'd be awesome, but the Yankees are probably okay without it. The Mets, if they want to win a World Series this year, they need Juan Soto. And the only way that the Mets were going to be aware is if this failed negotiation became public. I think it's exciting time because this creates a sizzling stove.
Well, this is good for the sport.
Exactly.
It's
in the
good
middle
for
of the
the
season.
Sport. Not good for the Nationals.
Oh, no.
Or their fans.
No, the Nationals got to be hating life right now.
But we don't care about them.
Of course. I don't care about the Nationals. I mean, if they want to sell the team anyways,
that's
who cares?
True. That's going to happen. Listen, anytime this stuff leaks out, you're talking to your fans is what you're doing.
100%.
We were in the Bronx on opening day, and we were mystified, as to why, the numbers, the specific parameters of the Judge offer were leaked. I mean, we knew why. So maybe mystified's the wrong word. We were turned off by the fact
that. Why would you do that?
Correct.
That's right.
Well, what they did was they were talking to their team, to their fans.
Yes.
And they're basically saying, hey, listen, without saying it quite this, without being this wordy, hey, we love the guy, but he is 30. He's had some injury histories. We deem this to be a fair, acceptable offer, at least as a starting point. We want you to know that we're doing the right thing by you as fans. And that's exactly what the Nationals did as well. I mean, and they did this with Bryce Harper, and they do this with all their guys. Hey, we offered $440 million. What do you want from us? How much higher can we go? See, here's what's interesting about the dynamic between the possible pursuit of Soto by both the Yankees and the Mets. And this is one big advantage that the Mets have, all right? Let's just say, now first of all, I don't think this happens within the next 2 weeks.
It's going to be hard.
You tend to think it might. You were off yesterday, but I want your exact opinion on that.
I think it has to. I think it has to, but keep going.
Okay, you think it has to, so we're a little different there, and ultimately we'll find out. But I think that, like, if the Yankees gave up their top 4 or 5 prospects, whatever it's going to take to get him here, I have zero faith that Hal would eventually cut the checks, the requisite checks, to fill in the pieces to make sure that Juan Soto's got a great team around them moving forward.
That's a great point.
With Stevie Cohen, if you give up the catcher, the third baseman, Alvarez, Beatty, everybody else, right? I have no doubts that he would do whatever it takes to go out and get more players. So to me, there's the aspect of which franchise is maybe a little more willing to give up all the prospects or a lot of them, and that's probably fairly even, but which owner is then willing to give a check and cut one with a 5 as the starting point. That's advantage Mets. And then, as I just said, as a subset to that, which owner is more inclined to then do whatever it takes to surround Soto with a championship team? Again, advantage Mets.
No, I think you're right. And going back to why you would trade for Juan Soto right now, if you're the Mets or you're the Dodgers or you're the Padres or you're the Red Sox or whoever, any team that's
Toronto Cardinals.
that thinks they can compete right now, the reason you do it right now is because he's going to help you win a championship. And for the Yankees, I honestly believe, and we've talked about this many times, BT, the Yankees need an arm more than they need a bat,
100%.
right? And so they don't need Juan Soto to win a championship, the Yankees. And again, I'm not saying I don't want Juan Soto as a Yankee fan.
I got you.
I'm saying we don't necessarily need Juan Soto to win a championship. If you're the Mets, you need Juan Soto to win a championship this year, just like the Padres need him to win a championship this year, just like the Dodgers need him to ensure that they'll win, just like the Red Sox need him to get them closer to the Yankees. They're 16 and a half games back.
No, they finished.
They faltered. But the only way they could change their narrative is if they go get a guy like Juan Soto, right? And so there are certain teams that need Juan Soto to win a championship. The Yankees are not one of them. And that's why it leaked right now. Here's why I think it has to happen. Back to your other question, BT.
Meaning it has to happen before the trade deadline.
Has to happen before the trade deadline this year. There are 4 or 5, maybe even 6 teams that are hot to trot for Juan Soto, including the Yankees, that are hot to trot for Juan Soto. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those teams are still in the conversation for postseason, deep postseason run. They have a good team, but not quite good enough, including the Mets. And if Juan Soto doesn't get dealt at the trade deadline, that urgency is gone at the end of the season. Because, the Mets are likely still in it, but some teams would be like, we didn't really get close. Juan Soto's going to be $500 million. I don't think I want that. Right now, you'll take it, because it'll help you win a championship. You have playoff control for this year and the next couple of years.
Well, that's indisputable,
before you ultimately have to pay him. So it makes sense.
But you got to tap the brakes
now
on the championship. This is not like an NBA team going out and getting, prime Durant or prime LeBron. They're still the variable. Juan Soto could go 1 for 21.
But for the Mets,
in the World Series.
But he's been phenomenal.
I understand that, but he can still go. It's not like the NBA or even a quarterback. Like, there can be the randomness. We always talk about the randomness of baseball. We can't just conveniently ignore it now.
Yes,
you can't just say if the Mets get Soto, they're going to definitely win the World Series.
I'm not, but I don't.
I can't say that. I can't say that about the Yankees
But my
either.
point with the Mets is without Juan Soto, because he's their best option right now, because he's available. Like, there's an urgency to move Juan Soto. The Mets are not winning a World Series if they don't make a move.
Yeah, well, that I agree with. I've been saying that.
And they have no chance if they do nothing.
If they stand pat.
If they stand
pat. What if
pat?
DeGrom comes back and he's absolutely the best pitcher in baseball?
I don't think it matters.
How can you tell me that? But how do you say that?
Because they still have to score.
Who
they
is
still
touching
have to
the top of that rotation? Who's touching that?
I don't know. The randomness of baseball.
Well, true.
I'm just telling
but randomness with starting pitching is a lot less likely. Think about this. The cyclical nature. Like, you take the best hitter. Aaron Judge was hitting 320 3 weeks ago. He's 270, whatever he is now, right? Like, you don't see these, for the most part, these wild fluctuations. The absolute best pitchers in the game, and Scherzer and DeGrom are at the top of the list. Those guys aren't going to go through, a 2-week playoff run where their ERA suddenly balloons to 5.32.
No, I don't.
But Pete Alonso could go 1 for 19 with 9 whiffs.
I agree. But
so can Aaron Judge.
Yeah, but there's so many examples.
Less randomness with pitching.
There is less randomness, but there is also Garrett Cole. Yes, he was injured 2 innings and giving up 5 runs against the Red Sox in the wild card game. You bought the dude here for $36 million a year or whatever it is for that exact purpose. The Yankees weren't elite a year ago. They needed to get through the wild card and give themselves a chance in a longer series. Garrett Cole lets them down. So I hear you, but there is definite randomness. But my simple point is this. The Mets aren't winning a World Series this year. If they get Juan Soto, they have a chance to win a World Series.
I got you. So if they get Juan Soto, they've got a chance to win the World Series. Now, I want everybody to hear what my partner just threw out there, because I find this very interesting. Let's see. April, May, June, and half of July. All right? Everybody's been telling me, the Mets are special.
They are special.
They're invoking comparisons to the 86 Mets. I mean, which was sheer lunacy to me, which I thought was laughable. And I don't mean just you. Now I'm hearing from everybody, Mets aren't good enough. Mets aren't good enough.
They're not.
Mets aren't good enough. What changed?
What changed?
Yeah, what changed?
The Dodgers got better. The Atlanta Braves got significantly better. They're up their ass right now. every single week, they're getting a step closer to them. What are they now? 2.5 games? 2.5 games back. I mean, the Mets might not win the division. You know, what you were alluding to a month ago, Sal Licata said the division was over.
A lot of people said it was done. It was
they had
wrapped.
a 13-game lead. I don't care that DeGrom's not pitching. I don't care that Scherzer's not pitching. The Mets are running away. Guess what? They're not running away anymore. They are no longer the best team in the National League.
Well, I know that.
mean, heck, some people would say they're the third best team in the National League right now. And so what has changed is that the other teams got better, and the Mets kind of stayed right where they are. I'm not saying they're not good, but I'm also saying
too many people were intoxicated by the fast start. Okay, they lost their grip on reality. What's changed?
Yeah, but
the 86 Mets.
But
you guys nuts.
Look, following the Mets day to day for the last 3 months, it was hard not to get intoxicated and how good they were playing. Tyler McGill, who people are like, who the hell? Tyler? What the hell's Tyler going to do? I know he was good in stretches the last season. The dude was phenomenal. I mean, he almost made you want to forget about Jacob. We don't need DeGrom. Yeah. In fact, Hoffman said that.
Oh, well, don't listen to him. He's been out of his mind with his opinions all over the map.
But my point is, the other teams have gotten better. And so here we are. We're at the trade deadline. Ooh. There is now an urgency thrust into the Juan Soto situation with the Washington Nationals because they offered him a bag, and he said, hell no. Get me the hell out of here. Go scratch with that. And now Juan Soto is hot on the trade market. And the Mets, if they want to win a World Series, given all this transpired in the last month and a half or so, they have to go get a Juan Soto.
All right, you heard Tiki. You got to do it. 877-337-6666. Inside of the Town Fair Tower studio here, the Tiki and Tierney show. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. All right, you've had a day and a half to let this marinate. Actually, a little more than that. But last night was front and center. You know, he's telling us how he loves hitting at Citi Field. And he's got Marte out there cheering him on.
And then he goes and mashes.
Like he always does. It's interesting. Let's get to the phones early out of the shoot. How about, let's start here in Manhattan. Chris is on the fan, Tiki and Tierney. What's happening, Chris?
Guys, great to have you back and to speak to you today. All right, listen. Hear me out. I'm not totally on board with this Juan Soto hysteria. Now,
come on.
I'm not denying his abilities. I'm not denying that he would make a huge impact. But I think there's a lot of ramifications of this. Let me just go back when the Mets picked up Cespedes many years ago. Cespedes was not on the level of Juan Soto, but he obviously helped us offensively. We never would have gotten into those playoffs without Cespedes.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has to be a Juan Soto. My concern, Tiki, with your point, and I get it. I understand the Mets, can do it, the finances. I get all that. But my concern is you're going to give up a boatload of prospects. And I'm not one of these guys that wants to hold on to every prospect. But what I will say is the reason the Dodgers and some of these teams have this sustained success is somebody gets hurt, they can go down to the farm system. So for the Mets to give up, it would be fair to say they'd have to give up 3 of their top prospects. Would that be fair?
No, I'd probably say 4.
More.
I'd say 4 and take on a contract and maybe 5, to be honest with you.
All right, so this is where my anxiety kicks in. So let's play this out. The Mets give up 5 prospects.
Yeah.
Soto comes in. If Soto gets hurt and/or Soto and Lindor get hurt, you're done. Like, you got nothing.
Yeah, but Chris, you can't live life. You can't live life. You can't live life like that.
Exactly. I agree with what BT is saying, Chris. You got to live in the moment. And ultimately, no different than Mookie Betts and that enormous deal he signed with the Dodgers. If you win a championship, trust me, it's all worth it. And I think that's what the Mets calculus has to be when they think about, he might have to give up Alvarez and Beatty and Mauricio. They're definitely giving up Mauricio because where's he playing? Right? Lindor is here for 10 years. Where's Mauricio playing unless he moves position? Ramirez is maybe the one you lament a little bit, but
you don't lament anything when it's Juan Soto.
I agree.
You drop him right at the doorstep from a limousine.
He's 23 years old. He's already won a World Series. And by the way, in that World Series against the Dodgers, that playoff run against the Dodgers in the first round, he raked. Yes, he had a bad NLCS, but then he gets into the World Series against the Astros, and he's just phenomenal.
He's incredible,
He's phenomenal, dude.
He's incredible.
And you want that guy. And you know when he's motivated. I don't know if he's motivated right now. The Nationals stink. right? It's hard to go to the ballpark when your team's won 31 games at the All-Star
Shouldn't
break.
be tough at that age, though.
I know,
it
but I'm
shouldn't be
just
tough
saying.
at that age. I'm not buying.
You just see what's happening around this team. There's no future in Washington. That's why he turned down, $440 million over 15 years. He doesn't want to be there till he's 38.
But let me ask you this.
Maybe never competing for a championship
I hear you,
again.
and they've shown an inability to. I mean, they remember back in the day, the Expos had a million players that were part of their team, their organization. They went on to do great things elsewhere. Pedro, Larry Walker, Delano DeShields, Randy Johnson. I mean, the list is crazy.
It's kind of crazy.
The Nationals are very similar.
Yes.
Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Max. I know Scherzer was elsewhere before there, but like they have no ability to maintain any sort of stability and keep their guys here. So I know that he's disenchanted. I know that he's going to be gone. But do you believe that whomever acquires him will be doing so with a contract extension already in tow? Because that's the subset to this.
Yeah.
Would you give up your 4 best prospects for a 2 and a quarter year rental? Now, I might, because he's that great.
I would, because I think for the teams that I'm talking about, like the Padres and the Mets, he could help them win a World Series right now.
But what if you don't?
I think you run with you gotta live, man.
Okay, I probably take a chance too. But
and
it's something to consider.
You said this to Chris. I think Chris was our last caller. You said this. You gotta live, and you gotta live in the moment, especially if you're a team that hasn't had that moment in recent history or has never had that moment.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
The Mets haven't had it in a while. Right, the Padres. I don't know when the last time they've had it.
Well, we were talking about point guards the other day with the old Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks and everything. And I referenced the trade with Strickland and Mo Cheeks, who was 40 years old when they gave up Rod Strickland, New York kid, by the way. And that's an asinine trade because that the window is minuscule. Yes. It's barely visible. And Chris from Manhattan, our first caller, was like, "Well, what if he gets hurt?" Listen, I mean, even if you take the worst, I mean, now. Catastrophic car and I'm not God.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about those type
but
of things.
Even the worst baseball injury, Tommy John, ruptured Achilles, blown out knee. You're back.
You're right.
You're back.
You're coming back.
And he's 23.
That's 20, and he's young. It means he heals quickly.
What do you think, Stevie Coates? Stevie woke up for breakfast. He said, "Oh man, it's a good day."
Oh yeah,
he's feeling like Ice Cube a little bit today.
Yeah. He woke up with a smile on his face. He's like, "I'm the only one that can get this guy, or I have the best opportunity to get this guy. It's on."
And don't you? I know we're going to break here. Don't you think? Now I can't prove this, but the mindset of Cohen this morning when he opened his eyes versus the mindset of Hal Steinbrenner.
Yes.
Isn't it fair to deduce from a distance that it's just wildly different?
100%.
Right?
I can feel the different energy from Stevie Cohen saying, "I want that dude," and Hal saying,
"Can we afford him?
Maybe he'll be good.
What about the prospects?
How do we make the money work?"
We already have Stanton on the books. 877-337-6666.